Hey, welcome everybody. It is 7 o'clock. Sci-Fi Distilled. Welcome back, Mary Beth.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
It is the summer solstice, right?
It is the summer solstice.
And
Today is
that
the
means
first
the
day of
depressing
summer.
part is the days start getting shorter
Oh,
again.
don't say that.
That is the depressing part of it. So,
Hi,
but
Sue. Hi, Bill.
no. Anyway, today we are doing Spielberg's first real. Well, I shouldn't say his first for real film, but his kind of his debut that really kind of started him on the way towards Jaws. And
Yes.
that is 1971's made for TV originally, but did get re-released in the theater.
Yes, because it
Um,
was that
it
good.
was the movie of the week, yeah, on TV. The movie Duel, starring Dennis Weaver, and pretty much that's it. The rest of the cast is so minor that we don't even see the other main character. It's a truck.
It's just Dennis Weaver in a truck.
So, but before we get to that, we have news.
We have news. And we have fun, exciting things today. Duel. I have dual news just in time for our dual episode. A 4K release by Universal is planned for July 11. So right after Shatner, those of you who need to get that Duel on 4K, that'll be out July 11. Moving on, it was reported yesterday that Sam Esmail's years in the making TV adaptation of the 1927 classic sci-fi film Metropolis has been canceled. This is a shame because everyone was calling this very, very smart science fiction. They expected it to do well. It would have been a big budget series on Apple TV. It is one of the highest profile casualties. And the way they wrote it in this article, they wrote of growing uncertainty around Hollywood driven by labor unrest against the background of economic headwinds. That means growing uncertainty given the writer's strike versus the economy. That's what that means.
Let's just call it what it is, spade is spade, as they say. But we like to euphemisms.
Oh, we love euphemisms. Speaking of smart science fiction, Netflix has offered viewers a preliminary glimpse at its upcoming science fiction series, Three Body Problem. You guys may have already heard of this book. It's by, I'm going to butcher this name. I think it's Liu Cixin. He is Chinese. He's the same guy that wrote the Wandering Earth series. The Three Body Problem is the first Asian novel ever to win a Hugo Award for Best Novel and a Nebula Award it was nominated for a Nebula Award. It's already been released as a movie in China. So Netflix is working on the series. This series is being helmed by Game of Thrones co-creators David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, and Glass Onion director Rian Johnson is going to be one of the producers. Among the cast is Benedict Wong, you know him from the MCU, Liam Cunningham, you know him from Game of Thrones, Rosalind Chow, we know her from Star Trek, and Jonathan Pryce, we know him from everything. The show will debut in January of 2024 and have 8-hour-long episodes. Go dig around on YouTube if you want to see the trailer. I'm really looking forward to that. They say it's like I started. They say it's really, really smart science fiction.
Cool.
In more Netflix news, Netflix's production of Stranger Things Season 5 is on indefinite hold. The Duffer Brothers previously tweeted that writing doesn't start until after filming begins, which tells me they just kind of make it up on the fly. So thus the series will not be filming while the writers are on strike. This did not stop them, however, from announcing Terminator star Linda Hamilton had joined the cast. We last saw Linda at least I last saw her in Resident Alien. She was so good in that. The inclusion of a sci-fi icon is super interesting because it suggests that they are really going for broke in season 5. But it makes me nervous. Like, guys, don't just throw like every wild thing in and hope it's going to stick. Like, have a cohesive story. Like, no stunt casting. Just have a story. We'll see what happens when and if we ever see this thing. Come on, writers. Come on, writers strike.
I can't believe this is still going on, that they haven't been able to resolve it.
What are we in now? 3-4 weeks now?
At least. It seems like it's been months, but maybe it hasn't been as long as I feel it has been.
Yeah, it feels like a while. In the last piece of Netflix news, filmmaker Zack Snyder has shared a sneak peek of his upcoming sci-fi film Rebel Moon at Netflix's, and I love the name of this event, Netflix's Ta-Dum event It's TUDUM, and it's the sound that when you turn Netflix on, it makes that little That's the name of the event. Rebel Moon hopes to kickstart a new sci-fi franchise and is the first of 2 planned films. I will skip the synopsis here. It is set to premiere on Netflix on December 22. Sure, why not, Zack Snyder? You can do that. You're all done with the DC now. The Flash is out and it's all over with.
Yeah.
Wes Anderson's Asteroid City. It had a limited release, but it'll be released nationwide not tomorrow, but the day after, Friday, June 23. I am looking forward to that. Set in 1955, the plot follows a bunch of students and parents who head to a fictional desert town for the annual Junior Stargazer Convention. I love Wes Anderson. I love Wes Anderson, so I will definitely be watching that. We found out that Babylon 5, The Road Home, hits digital, 4K Ultra, and Blu-ray from Warner Brothers Discovery Home Entertainment on August 15th. So that's when we can all watch Babylon 5, The Road Home. I believe, it's going to stream. Digital means streaming. And then 4K Ultra and Blu-ray means,
or at least available for streaming.
At least available.
You probably have to buy it.
Yeah. Apple TV's Silo, which I have been watching and enjoying, starring Rebecca Ferguson. She played the mother in Dune too. Has been renewed for a second season. It is based on the book Wool, and it kind of brings up when you start getting into real life or online discussions about Silo. Do you guys ever have that the book readers versus the viewers only fight where the viewers only if you there's actually Reddits subreddits that are for only the TV show, and if you've read the book, get out of our subreddit, you can't comment here and no book comments will be tolerated.
Reddit's kind of a wild west of online to begin with. I mean,
that's true.
It's kind of so I didn't even know it was based on a book. I just kind of started watching it. Is there only the 8 episodes?
Yeah, 10. I believe there's 10.
Okay, because I've only watched 8, and the other 2 have not showed up on.
No, they haven't dropped yet. So we got 2 more. The finale airs June 30th, so that'll be next. So maybe not this Friday, but next. Friday.
I guess I'm caught up.
Yeah, they're about caught up. They think season 2 will be sometime between April and June of 2024. Moving on. Are you a Skrull? Am I a Skrull? Would you know? Could I fool you if I were a Skrull? MCU's Secret Invasion starts today on Disney Plus, with fans already tweeting reactions to the series premiere, which is apparently shocking. I don't know what it is. I haven't seen it yet, but apparently I'm going to be shocked when I watch it later this weekend. This is the first series of Phase 5. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I kind of don't care about the phases. Phase 1, Phase 3, Phase 5. I don't care. Just entertain me with the superheroes. That's really all I want. And finally tonight, Strange New Worlds premiered. Rizzo, do you want to tell folks about our new segment?
So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about episode 1. So if we're going to put up a timer for 3 minutes, so we're only talking about it for 3 minutes. So if you haven't watched it and you don't want any spoilers, because there will be spoilers, then mute us. Or whatever.
Until the
timer will show you when we're going to be done talking about it, so you can unmute us again and listen to what we have to say. But we felt it was just relevant to talk about it. Hey, I just wanted to shout out. Hey, Chris LaRoche, I'm so glad you're home.
Yes,
you're doing well, and we're so happy that you got through surgery. Okay.
Yes, the shadow is
back. Shadow's back. So. On that note, I'm going to start the timer, and we're going to start talking about Strange and what we like.
Haven't seen the first episode? Mute.
So if you haven't watched it, you might want to just put us on mute and just watch our lips go and not.
Just watch us talk at each other. I'll gesticulate a lot, and here we go.
Gesticulate. So, all right, are you ready? We're going to start the timer here.
Okay.
Okay, we're going. So
why are we? Okay, can I just start with why
please.
Are we stealing the Enterprise? Again. That thing is LoJack.
You hear for Forrest Gump, and they stole the Enterprise again.
That thing is now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, and only in the Star Trek universe do you get away with stealing an entire ship and no consequences whatsoever.
No, none whatsoever. Yeah. Anywhere else.
And it's somebody who served, and I know anybody else that served is, you have a chain of command and you follow orders for a reason. And, my thing is that, Spock thinks he's doing the right thing, but you don't know what Starfleet, he doesn't know everything that Starfleet knows. So they may have a secret op going on and he just boogered it by taking the Enterprise.
They
So
kind
that
of-
was one thing. Okay,
They kind
so
of did
that-
have. They did kind of have not a secret op, but they had something going on.
Well,
that
no,
they
but I
did.
mean, my point is, you
April
just don't
hinted
know.
at
That's
the
why
end.
you follow orders. That's why you
Yes,
follow orders.
exactly,
You don't just
exactly.
do whatever you
There
think.
is a new opening. I liked it. It kind of reminded me of Lower Decks a little bit. Here, I'm gonna put this out for you. I don't like the Spock Chapel. I don't ship them. I don't like that, but I enjoy Ethan Peck, and I like what he's doing with it.
Yeah.
So I am
I'm
okay with that.
I'm okay with the character. Again, I always, like I said, I think I told you earlier, I have to look at this.
Get my other
This
notes.
is Discovery Universe, which is not Prime Universe. It can't
True.
be.
That's
There's
true.
There's too many inconsistencies with Prime Universe and this one, so it gives them some leeway to mess with the character.
To mess with it.
I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I'm not loving it. We are introduced to the new engineer, played by Carol Kane.
We got our new engineer. Yep.
Great actress. Not really endeared to this character
Here's
yet.
here's my theory, and I'm not
Sure.
alone. I've seen other people say this. I think Taxi is now officially part of the Star Trek universe. I think
Maybe,
she's just
but
playing Cynthia again.
the thing is with Carol, she kind of plays the same character in whatever she does. It's always
Yes.
the same accent, same kind of thing. So
Yes.
here we go. I don't know how they thought. I don't know how the casting was with this. Like all of a sudden they said, "Oh, Carol Kane's she's our engineer." I wonder if they're going to change engineers every season. If this is like a thing, like that's going to be their little thing. Because every season we
have
get
to
a
get
new
to
chief
Scotty
engineer.
because Scotty was already there.
We got to
I
get
think.
there eventually, but not necessarily. Scotty was on. He's on that, but he's
30
not.
seconds. The Klingons look better. The D7 looked better. We got Baby Drummer back again. We only got Handsome Mount for 2 seconds, but maybe we'll
Right.
get more of him next week.
So in conclusion, I'm going to say, hopefully optimistic. Really haven't seen anything. It's a little silly right out of the gate, but I guess that's where they're going with this. We'll see
Little
what happens.
breezy.
Yeah,
Little
5
breezy.
seconds. Last word.
Okay, they got it started. Let's see. Yeah, let's see where they go from here.
All right. Boom. Pretty
We
good.
did
Huh?
it.
So
We need to
what
have
is-
the banner going underneath.
Oh, I forgot the spoiler alert.
That's our strange new review.
So
We're
if you
gonna
guys
look,
like,
guys.
if you guys like that segment, we'll continue it each week.
Yes, if
as
you want
these
us
things
to
drop.
do
And
that
maybe
each week, we will. If you want it just to be 2 minutes, I guess we could try, but it'll just be us talking over each other.
well, I think they went well.
3 minutes is good. I think 3 minutes is the
They
perfect
won't.
amount of time.
I think it went well.
Because here's the thing, guys. This is why I proposed it, and here's why. I watched the episode, and I knew immediately that Rizzo would have thoughts. I'm like, oh, wait till Rizzo watches this. I just knew it.
I did have thoughts.
He had a lot of thoughts.
I wasn't like upset. I was a little groany. I was like,
yeah, it's a little grony. But okay, our 3 minutes are up. We're not supposed to. Anyway, we will be doing that for Strange New Worlds. And again, you can mute it for those 3 minutes. All right. What's
Okay.
our drink tonight?
So we have
What are we drinking? Oh, we're drinking
called diesel, and it's just cola and beer. I don't know what it tastes like.
Oh,
I don't know. Doesn't sound like it'd be good, but it seemed to fit. So I went with the name over the quality. And
Strange
it's
New
just-
Thoughts. Bill, I love that. Strange New Thoughts. I was calling it Strange New Review, but Strange New Thoughts.
Strange New Thoughts that's good. I like that. Thank you, Bill.
I like
we
that,
Might,
yeah.
We might adopt that.
We may.
So anyway, there's a drink. You pretty much don't need it. It's 3.5 ounces of cola and 5 ounces of beer. Make it better. You're supposed to do it in the right order, though. You need to do cola and then beer on top. I guess it will layer. I guess the idea is that it looks like diesel fuel when you mix it.
But diesel doesn't have a little oily, like slick to it.
Well,
Diesel-
it is a petroleum product, so I mean, it kind of looks.
We need a beverage.
It
that
really
has
looks like
oily-
gasoline, honestly, unless they put dye in it.
Yeah, maybe.
Sometimes they'll put dye in the off-road because the same stuff you put in your house to heat your house, those of us in the Rust Belt, fuel oil and diesel is the exact same thing. You can put the stuff you put in your house in your car; it'll run in your diesel engine anyway.
Yes.
Anyway, it just
All right,
they
moving
put
on.
a dye in
Cool.
it for tax reasons, so that they can tell the difference between the stuff you paid tax on and the stuff you didn't. So
Yes.
anyway, moving on.
Duel. What a
Duel.
good movie this was for a 22-year-old. How old was he?
Oh, Spielberg. Oh, I don't even know how old he was.
He was
Pretty
right
young.
in
He's definitely in his 20s.
22.
He was
What
just
a
he was just
good
little kid,
job.
basically. Well, this is shows you he had talent right out of the gate. And I wouldn't even say talent. The man is just gifted. And I look at somebody making a film as the same kind, not the same kind of, but it's on par with somebody who can play a violin beautifully. That you can put together a film. It's a skill, it's an art, it's a gift.
Yes, because you
He
know why?
clearly has this gift,
Yes.
and he knew enough. He knows what to take from the masters before him, like Hitchcock and things. He knew the right
Yes.
things to do, and he did this. And this was supposed to be a cheap movie of the week.
Yep.
Just knock it out in 9 days or something.
Yep.
Get it on the air. Was never meant to. And I say, had Spielberg not directed this, it would have fallen into obscurity and nobody would be talking about it after the week that it aired.
Yes.
It would have been that. But because it was him, and in typical Spielberg fashion, studios like just shoot it with a rear projection
Yeah.
on the
With
car.
the
Like
actor on a
everything
set,
else, and Spielberg's
car.
like, no, we're going to do it in the car live in the
Yes, he insisted on doing it on location,
which is
and
exactly what he
thank
did
God he
with
did.
Jaws. This is the exact
Yes.
same thing. We see so many parallels with this film and Jaws, and we're going to go talk about a lot of them because it is a very similar movie in a lot of ways. You kind of have this big thing chasing
Spielberg
other
called
people.
it its spiritual successor or spiritual sequel. I think successor was the word.
It's ironic because it wasn't like Spielberg wrote both of them. They were written by two different people. That's the story.
Matheson wrote Duel, and Jaws was Crichton.
Yeah.
Who was Jaws?
Peter Benchley.
So
so it wasn't like, oh, they just copied each other, but he brought the same kind of, clearly he was hearkening back to this movie when he did Jaws. There's no question about it in my mind that he was pulling things and probably said, hey, you know what? I couldn't do this in Duel, but I can do it in Jaws.
Yeah, I can do it in Jaws. Let's dig into some of the super clever things he did, because just the camera work, the editing, the way he set shots up. I mean, he just did some really genius stuff. Camera work. He did make that old truck, that 1955 Peterbilt, look like it was racing and bearing down. And in fact, that truck never went over 30 miles an hour at any point during filming. Its driver, Rizzo, is its driver this evening. Carrie
Lofton was a stunt driver.
And
the funny thing is, when he went to Spielberg, he says, what's this guy's motivation? What am I? And it's kind of funny that a stunt driver would be like, you think just drive, do this and this, and
no.
So, and Steven Spielberg told him, you're a dirty, rotten, no good son of a bitch, and the guy said, you hired the right guy.
Kid, you got the right guy. Yes,
the right guy.
And he did an amazing job. Spielberg had really high praise for Carrie. Said he was one of the safest drivers he'd ever done. And Dennis Weaver, they had so much trust in his ability that Dennis Weaver did. Well, he did his own driving stunts, but he did that phone booth stunt himself, jumping out of the way at the right time. It looks, of course, the way with camera and perspective, it looked a lot more dangerous than it was. And Carrie did have a way, like a past the point of no return, like abort mission. He had a way to bail and turn if he had to. Like he could just turn to the side if he had to. But yeah, they had so much faith in him that Dennis Weaver was like, yeah, no, I'll get in the phone booth. I'll do it. And he did.
Yeah.
So we were digging into how Spielberg, the smart thing Spielberg, yes. So he would shoot this thing. Carrie Lofton had invented a camera car. Carrie had, I believe. Or they had invented it for Bullet, because Carrie drove on Bullet.
Yeah, it was the same, right. It was the same technique they used in Bullet.
Yes. So it was a camera car, and they put the camera down low.
Yeah, it gives you that sense of speed when they're really not going.
Because you see stuff whipping by. And so it feels really, really fast when in fact it isn't. The other super clever thing, because he shot this thing in like 12 days. The studio had told him, no, don't shoot it on location, but he said, we're doing it. He shot it in 12 days. And what he would do is he would set up like 5 cameras like over a mile, and they'd race. And then the camera would pick the cameras up, cross the street, turn around and set the cameras looking back. Those guys would turn around and they'd come racing that way.
Very Star Trek-like.
Yeah.
They would do the hallway thing.
Yeah,
they just do the hallway thing.
And so apparently at that part of the world, which is they were supposed to have been in the Mojave Desert, but they actually filmed it kind of northwest of Los Angeles. Within the stretch of a mile, it can look different, and the scenery is so different from one side of the road to another that you can just cross the street and it looks like you're on a completely different section of the highway. So that was really smart. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I mean, it holds up to it. Granted, this movie's almost 50 years old, right? It's over 50.
1971. It's like almost 52 now.
It's over 50 years old. So, and I think it still holds up. You guys can agree or disagree with me, but I think it still holds up. I mean, if you just modernize the car and the truck, You think, well, he would have a cell phone. Well, he'd be on the desert. There's probably no service, so the cell phone is.
So the cell phone's out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or,
no, so
or
like
his battery runs out.
It's like it's got that kind of thing, and so and I think out there, and I don't live out there, so I don't know, but I think there's still those little. The restaurant that he stopped, the cafe, is still there, and it was like really a cafe.
The tunnel where the school bus,
yeah, and the school bus scene was added.
The school bus scene was added
when it was made for TV. It was under 90
minutes. 74 minutes or something.
Yeah, it was only 74 minutes. So I think when they decided, because of the popular, and I think as after Jaws, maybe they decided to re-release it in the theater.
I don't know when this thing got released in the theater.
I want to say it was definitely out. It was out a while. It had been on TV a bunch of times. They wanted to release it into the theater because they thought Spielberg now had a name. But they had to make it at least 90 minutes. So they added the beginning scene where you see starts in the dark and he's in the garage and it pulls out driving through the neighborhood. That was all added. The school bus scene was added.
The phone call
and the phone when he's on the calls his wife, he stops and calls his wife and he has a conversation. That was added to flesh it out to the 90 minutes. Yeah. Which didn't add anything to the film. The school bus thing was kind of good. I mean,
it was kind of good
because there might have been a scene that they shot but cut originally, and then they just added it back in.
Yeah.
Anyway, the thing is,
psychologically, the school bus was genius because he helps the bus, and so it causes the Dennis Weaver character to second guess himself.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe he is okay. All right, maybe I'm imagining.
Right, and it makes Dennis Weaver look crazy to all these other people that he runs into. Now, clearly, the old woman at the snake farm there, snake show, the gas station, the little gas.
Take a look at my.
Clearly, she saw that the guy was crazy.
Yeah. Oh my God, did they kill real animals? I have wondered about that snake scene. Did they actually kill real animals? Because there's one shot where the truck barrels through one of the cages, and in the next cage over is the iguana, and the iguana backs up and physically moves because this truck is going past it.
I don't know. I'm scared. I didn't come across that. I think even by then Hollywood had rules.
I would hope they did.
Because way back in the day,
the other thing I was really
they used to do Ben-Hur, stuff like that. They would literally cripple horses and stuff.
Oh God, yeah, they did horrible things to the animals.
So I'm pretty sure by the 70s that had been.
I would sincerely hope so.
Yeah.
The other thing I was super curious about, since they're filming on location, that train. That had to have been a real train on a real.
Yeah, I wonder if that was like.
So did they just wait for it to pass once a day?
That's another thing that didn't come up in the research, but you're right. It's a good point.
How did they get the train shots?
The train must have been just fortuitous, or they knew the schedule.
That train pops up.
I wonder if they knew that train came through their regular time,
and they were just
they were just
opportunists. Driver, or
I think they were opportunists. That'd be my guess. That'd be a good question. I don't know. I didn't find if anybody knows that. Are you not
slamming on train brakes and going, "What the hell are you people doing?" Like I've always wondered that. I wish I found nothing about that in my research, and I've been very curious.
Yeah, because there's two scenes. There's the train where he's waiting at the train tracks, and they're pushing.
Yeah, there's a scene where he gets pushed. Yeah,
he gets pushed.
Then there's a scene where he's sleeping.
Right, and the train goes by.
And then there's just one other scene where
there's one other scene. That's what I was going to talk about. I think I was talking earlier. And that scene, when they're paralleling, the train's running along the road, they're driving along the side of the road. I thought for sure that there was going to be a scene where Dennis Weaver jumps across the tracks at the last, the crossing, and the train goes by and basically either blocks the truck or the truck slams into it, and that's the end. That's how he takes it out. But I think the ending is actually really works well because I know we had discussed that a lot of people think the truck should have exploded.
Yes.
It had flame all over. Maybe that's was the whole point, that it didn't explode. It was kind of like meh. But I really like the way he did the ending. You see the little fan running,
and the blood,
the little electric fan, and then you just see the blood drip down off the steering wheel, and he's dead.
It was a fitting ending.
It was a fitting ending.
Spielberg wanted kind of a long, drawn out death, so it worked. It worked.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he could have exploded maybe after that,
maybe, I guess. So many people, because Hollywood has taught us this. Hollywood has conditioned us now as viewers. We saw that word flammable and all the flammable markings on the side of that tank so many times throughout the course of the movie that, of course, we knew that thing was going to blow up at the end. And we are not alone.
There's no way at the speeds, with the speeds the truck was allegedly going, there's no way he was full.
That's the other thing. Yeah, no, he wasn't.
He had to be empty. He had to have been empty. Which brings me to another point that I discussed with you, and you guys can decide if you agree or disagree with me. Was the truck and driver supernatural in nature, or was he just crazy? Because the stuff that the truck allegedly was doing, now we all know he was really only doing 30 miles an hour, but the speeds that he was running,
they were
going downhill, we know a truck, even the little Valiant of the year, right? That little Plymouth Valiant of 1971 probably didn't handle very well either, but it had to out-handle a truck hauling a trailer through those twisty roads, I would think. So he should have been easily able to get away from it.
There was a line that said he has a souped up engine. So, I mean, he
must have a souped up engine, which even a diesel engine that's really overbuilt would still, I think a car would.
And the Plymouth was a V8, right?
The original one was a V8. When they did the reshoots, they used a 72. And I think it had the inline 6. There's a car guys get all into this. You could tell because there's a V8 logo on the car in the movie and some of the scenes.
Oh,
so
I didn't notice that.
The V8 should have easily outran the truck without even flinching.
Yeah, I mean the truck. Yeah, that is a great question. Was it just a serial killer, or was the truck and the driver sort of some kind of combined?
So the other thing that
evil entity,
the little thing that Spielberg was hinting at, if you notice on the truck, it had multiple license plates from different states.
Across the front. Yes.
And the idea was that this guy, that's what he did. He went
state to state
and just murdered people and ran them off the road.
And those were his other kills. Yeah.
So, yeah.
The thing about whether it's supernatural or not, the thing about this movie that makes it still work today is because we've all been there. We've all experienced kind of like road rage or just at least annoyance at another driver.
I mean, in 71, this was probably like, oh my God, this is so far, not far.
We were talking about that. So,
but today it's like, you could totally see this happening.
Okay, there's a line in the movie where he's like, he's pushing me at 80, 70
or 90 miles an hour.
I have to concentrate.
Yeah.
He's like, I have to concentrate. And Rizzo, you reminded me, because I'm like, crap, I drive that all the time. I mean, perhaps without
enough. You have a car that's 40 years newer than that one.
And Rizzo, you remind me, like back then, like there was so much play, like they had to work at it.
Yeah,
if you're
cars handled terrible back then.
Yeah,
people handled like
that rack and pinion steering or whatever the heck it was.
No, they weren't rack and pinion. They were regular Saginaw type boxes. Rack and
pinion. I don't know what it was. Yeah, there's play.
But the tires, they were probably bias ply tires. The suspension was so much softer.
Yeah,
Americans like their soft, cushy suspensions. So yeah, they just handled like poop. And
part of me was like, we used to go, like, I guess we went.
Yeah, but around those corners and on those, you wouldn't have gone that fast. And you're right, it probably was hard to maintain because the cars.
Because the car probably just,
Yeah, I mean, I could get in my truck and probably handle my 3/4 ton pickup truck probably handled better than that Valiant did.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I still say it should have outrun that truck. No sweat. Because it was still, especially the V8 version.
But it works. And the other cool thing about the movie is the way he set up some of the shots. I have to praise the shot of a couple of shots, the truck coming around to see him at the end of the tunnel. What a great shot that was. That was the one shot where you almost heard the Jaws dun. Like you could feel it.
Well, that's the thing. And I think you had mentioned it when we talked earlier that they do such a good job of maintaining the tension level in this film for the whole 90 minutes.
They really do.
It really, once it starts, and it does progress slowly. At first, he passes him, then he passes him back, thinking, okay. And we've all been there. You pass somebody, and then the guy comes and passes you, right? And kind of thing. And then there's the scene in the diner.
Yes,
where he knows probably one of those guys is the guy.
Maybe. I don't think it was.
No, for sure. He never had, because remember, he went into the restroom, cleaned himself up, came back out. He didn't know and then he saw the truck outside. So
but then the truck just leaves, and no, the guys leave. I don't think.
Well, that was after he. So maybe it wasn't any of them. You're right. Maybe
I don't think it was any of them.
Of course, he thought it was,
but he thought he was. That I gotta single out that cafe scene for praise. You mentioned before that he was almost Hitchcockian. He did a couple things that Hitchcock did. The shot of him going in, rinsing off his face, and coming back out is one long shot. He actually had a couple long shots in this movie that are done so well, you kind of forget. You don't even notice that they're one long shot. It was amazing. He did such a good job. And then all the shots of the truckers lined up on the stools looking at him, and they were like looking like kind of between, like a guy would go like this and looking between two other
Right.
guys.
They're like, is he
They
the guy
talk to each
looking? I see
other,
your
and then
kids
he'd
all the
look.
time. Yeah. Is he the
Brilliant,
guy? Is he
very
the guy?
Hitchcocky and brilliant. Like that whole little cafe section is like a little mini movie right unto itself in the
Right.
middle
Right.
of
And it
everything
just built
else.
the tension even more. Of course,
Yeah.
my first thing is he's got to pay for the fence.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like you just smashed this guy's fence. And
You just blew this guy's fence apart, and you didn't even say I'll pay for it or whatever. Just got back in his car, drove away. Although I will say that's one thing Spielberg does do good. And you don't. This is something you never really see in movies of that era. Is as the car gets more damaged, the damage stays. Like a lot of times you'll see cars smash into a fence, and then you'll see the damage happen when it hits the fence, but then the next scene the damage is gone because it's a different car, or they shot it earlier.
He did try to do that in as many places as he could. However, there are just a couple continuity errors.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but for the most part, you don't notice it. I like to see when you finally lost the wheel cover, because if anybody knows that when you drove cars of that era, wheel covers would just come off randomly for no particular reason, let alone being flung around a corner at like
a pothole and it would go bouncing off.
Everything would be like, I remember just driving down the road and watching one of my wheel covers just fly.
I've done that too. I had a pothole in my wheel cover, just pew.
Yeah, at least you had some instant that made it come off. I've had them just come off randomly for no reason.
Cars, thank God cars are evolving.
Yeah, so we don't need because everybody has alloy rims now. How many cars actually have wheel covers anymore?
Yeah, that's true.
Those were very classic Plymouth. Those ones they on that car, those were classic Plymouth wheel covers. Those little cones. Remember that car? I remember people that had that car.
Oh, it was my Chevy celebrity, so I didn't care. What else did
station wagon? I will say the station wagon. Remember when he brakes in the middle of the road and he's like literally sitting in the middle of the road looking at the truck, and then the station wagon comes flying along and almost creams him. My dad had to be at least a 71, but I had a 73 version of that same exact.
Everyone had that. We called it a beach wagon.
It was a Chevy Caprice.
We called it a beach wagon. Yeah, the Chevy Caprice. Wood. And did it have the fold up seat in the back or no?
No, I think that was a Ford or a Plymouth thing, but I don't think
been a Chevy
had that. But they had the fake wood on the side.
And the fake
had
wood.
that, and then we had. You remember it was like the clamshell rear door, like the door went down and the window went up.
That's right.
Remember, it was a big deal because it was an electric window.
Yes,
that was the only electric. Everything else on that car was cranked, but that back window went up electric into the top, and the body was like a clamshell kind of a thing. Did that so that when you opened it up, there was nothing, no door, no nothing, no tailgate. It was open space. Those cars were amazing. You could fit a 4x8 sheet of plywood in the back of that station wagon if you fold the back seat down.
Yeah,
like no problem. It was like a pickup truck. It was essentially a pickup truck with a top on it.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah,
it was a big 400 cubic inch engine. The thing was a tank. So they don't build them like they used to. I'll tell you that.
Oh, that's funny. So something else that he did really great. This is a rare Steven Spielberg movie without John Williams, but it did not have John Williams. It had a guy named I can tell you the guy's name.
Yeah. There's only a handful of movies that Spielberg did without Williams.
Composer Billy Goldenberg. Billy. I have to say, I enjoyed Billy. I enjoyed his choices. It wasn't music and it wasn't soundtrack. It was just sounds and sound effects and like sting. You know what a sting is? It's that little tag music, just to kind of scare you, sort of thing. It was that, and of course that classic. I call it a metal groan. You said it was actually a dinosaur.
It was a dinosaur sound from a movie in the 50s, I think, that he used. And it's the same sound he used for Jaws when Jaws.
He used it in Jaws.
You just tweaked the speed and the all the EQ of it, but it was the same sound effect.
It works in this movie. Like, this movie should not work. It's Dennis Weaver carrying the thing alone. There's very little dialogue. There's so little dialogue that they actually made the choice to have a monologue, to have Dennis.
Well, at one point they were going to have the wife in the car with him, so that
they
would have
somebody. Oh, they didn't do that.
And then they decided, that would have been bad. That would have made it.
That would have been bad. It's just a car and a truck. Very little dialogue. No real music to speak of. No. the plot is so simple. This should not work, but it's kind of
It works
genius.
because of Spielberg.
It
What
works
I'm
because
saying
of
is what I said
Spielberg.
at the beginning. If Spielberg hadn't directed this, we all would have forgot about it because it wouldn't have been this good.
Yeah, probably.
But and he wanted Dennis Weaver from the get-go. Dennis Weaver
Yes,
didn't
yes, he
sign
did.
on until the day before shooting, and
Yeah.
they remember he was doing McLeod, which is
Yes,
he
and
was
they
like a
halted
sheriff
him.
or something. He
They
was like a police
suspended
officer.
McLeod for a little bit.
They actually paused
Yeah. Well, it's
filming that.
Universal, and this was a
Yeah,
Universal movie, so it
yeah.
kind of,
So I
yeah,
mean, it
they
was
do
all. And
that.
actually, they were thinking that some of the other people they were thinking Dustin Hoffman in his
Yeah,
role.
that wouldn't have
I could
worked.
see Dustin Hoffman working. I could see that working. Picture it. I could see it. Thinking the whole. If you've ever seen, here's why I think it would work. If you've ever seen The Marathon Man, we might have to do that movie
Maybe we'll have to do that one. Yeah.
because that. If you see Dustin Hoffman in The Marathon Man, you'd say, yeah, he could have pulled this movie off.
Interesting.
Um,
I was watching yeah, I'm glad he went with Dennis because I think Dennis was.
no, I liked, and I've always liked Dennis Weaver. I used to watch
And he
McLeod
liked
reruns
Dennis
and
in
stuff like
Touch
that.
of Evil. That's why
Yeah,
he.
well, that's why. Yeah, right.
But I was watching an interview with.
Bill's seen it. Bill's seen Marathon Man.
Okay. I was watching an interview with Stephen Spielberg about this movie, and he was saying that he'd been cutting his teeth in Hollywood. Of course, like every other young kid, he went to Hollywood thinking he's gonna be a big movie producer, movie maker. But you don't. You have to cut your teeth somewhere, and so they gave him a couple episodic television, like little TV. And some of them went really, really well. Some of them went horribly, but then they finally, but I kept going, I kept doing it, and they finally gave me this. And he said, at first I didn't want to do TV. Like I kind of thought it was below me. I really wanted to make movies. But he said, no, in retrospect, what an amazing way to learn. And I grew to have a tremendous appreciation for television and its storytelling capabilities. So yeah, thank God he got to do this, because then from here after this, it was pretty much, I don't want to say the sky's the limit, but
we don't see the movie of the week anymore, but I guess in some ways we really do, because the streaming services come out with their own films that they produced for their own services. So I guess that is the modern version of the movie of the week.
Yeah.
A lot of times the movie of the week was just a movie that was in the theaters. That's how I saw all the James Bond movies.
Oh, really?
Up until I think the first one I saw in the theater was Moonraker.
Oh, interesting.
All the other ones I've seen were on the Sunday night movie of the week or the Monday night movie of the week or whatever it was. Because every time they'd advertise James Bond, I'm like, oh, I'm there. Well, one I haven't seen, which means I saw them all out of order.
Oh, so that, yeah.
Not that it really matters for James Bond. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The one didn't build on the next one, so it didn't matter. But anyway,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the other interview that I thought was really interesting that I watched was Matheson, the guy who wrote this. He had a really interesting, he got the idea for this story the day Kennedy got shot, because I guess him and some friends were like on the golf course or something, and somehow it came over the radio, or they heard that Kennedy had been shot, and they were like, oh, screw this, we're going to leave, and we're all going to go home and watch this on TV. And they were heading home, and sure enough, a truck was tailgating them exactly as depicted in the movie. They sped up, it sped up, they sped up, it sped up. They started getting scared. They finally veered off the road, and it flew on by. And so they kind of composed themselves, got themselves together, and went home. And everyone else forgot about it except for him. And it started turning into this idea. And next thing you know, he had written it and sold it to Playboy. And it was Spielberg's secretary who saw it in Playboy and gave it to Spielberg and was like, this is your next movie.
Yeah. And Spielberg liked it because it reminded him of being bullied as a kid, the truck.
Yes.
So there was a connection there. So he felt that was kind of worked, So yeah, it's interesting how this developed. And again, we all, like I said, we've all kind of been there where we've had to kind of if you drive any length of time, you're going to have some kind of incident with another.
I think
driver.
We've all had a truck come up behind us. And
yeah, I mean, or just crazy person cutting you off or chasing you down, or
or crazy person in a car. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so it's happened. I think that probably everybody, like I said, if you drive enough. One of the neat things is when it wasn't a thing, there's still like a couple of Easter eggs in this film.
Yeah,
the Jaws thing, which wasn't a Jaws thing, but the sound effect was kind of a pre-Easter egg, or was an Easter egg in Jaws, maybe back to this movie. But there was one thing. There's one scene which was unintentional. When he's in the phone booth, you can see Steven Spielberg's reflection,
Yep.
in the phone booth. He
Yes,
even
you
says
can.
that
I
was
saw
not
that right away.
intentional. That was just an accident. And then in the scene, there's a scene where he's coming up and he sees a police car on the side of the road. So he's going to pull over thinking, oh my God, I'm saved. There's a cop. And then when he gets close, it's an exterminator car just to look like a Spielberg. Well, the company name is Spielberg written backwards.
Yeah, it's like Gribless or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, it's Spielberg.
Whatever it was, but it's
Yeah.
Spielberg backwards.
And
So
then
that
we've got
was
some
kind of a
actor
very-
Easter eggs too, don't we?
Well, you mean who are you referring to? That the fact that
The
he
two
reuses
old, so he
Right, yeah.
stops an older car with an older couple, and he says,
Right.
"Please call the cops, please, please, please." And she's like, "No, keep going." And they won't call the cops for him. You see them again in Close Encounters. They're in the
Yep.
helicopter. They have gas masks on their face in the helicopter, so they're harder to spot, but they are there. And the other actor he used again was the lady from the Snake. Actually, he didn't just use the actor; he used the whole Snake-orama thing.
Yeah, it was kind of the same thing
again.
from he used it in
In
1941.
the movie 1941. Yeah,
Which was
same
such
actress.
a great movie. Did we did that movie? Did we
No,
not?
I don't think we did 1941.
Oh, maybe we should.
We could if you wanted to.
I love that movie. You know that they consider that the most his biggest flop.
Oh,
And
1941?
yeah, they do consider that Spielberg's biggest flop. And I saw it in the theater and I love that one.
Maybe we should do it. We can discuss that. Yeah, we can.
Has one of I think it's one of John Williams' best soundtracks as far as the actual theme song for that. I
Oh,
think
really?
it's one of the best ones. It's very military, very John Philip Sousa-esque, but it just works. And I've only seen it. Well, I've seen it not live, but the Air Force Band, I think, did it. And I've talked to people that are in.
Kent wants to do 1941.
I've talked to people who are like no music and no orchestral arrangements, and they said that would be very difficult to do with a very, you'd need a full orchestra to do that properly.
Yeah,
because it's very complicated. But it's one of my favorite. It's
Christopher LaRoche. Christopher LaRoche, Marathon Man, scariest dentist scene ever. Scarier than the dentist scene from Cause I'm a dentist.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, the Marathon. Have you ever seen Marathon Man?
No.
Oh, you got to see. You got to.
Oh no, another make me watch. Okay,
let me
write down 1941.
Yeah, you never seen 1941 either. Oh my God, the list gets longer. These are must-sees.
The other thing I wanted to mention that drew Spielberg to this story is there's no clear motive. There's no clear motive. We don't know why
he just passes them, and it just starts. And I suspect the guy was just looking for somebody to pick on.
Possibly.
And Dennis Weaver was in the wrong place, the wrong time, and he was his next victim. I think my theory is he really was just a serial killer, and this is how he killed people. In the middle of nowhere, drove them off the road. Nobody knows what happened to them.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it. And this was his method of killing people. And there was a real case a while back where these kids, they're thugs really, were driving around with their high beams on purpose. And anybody that flashed their high beams back at them to say, hey, your high beams are on, they would chase them down and beat the crap out of them. So, it was kind of so then, you're like, you don't even want to flash. You don't even want to honk at anybody now because you don't know how crazy they are.
Crazy.
Everybody's armed.
That is crazy. Where are you guys all watching tonight? You all on Facebook or are you on the tube of YouTube?
A lot of the comments are coming in through Facebook.
Bill's alone Bill feels like he's all alone on Facebook. You're not alone. We're all here with you, Bill.
No, we're all on Facebook.
Let me talk about a couple things that I was like, okay, wait, this doesn't work. One, we did not, two things in particular. One, I don't know if you guys caught, if you remember at all, this running theme. It starts with the conversation on the radio as the movie opens of a guy calls in and he's like, I'm worried if I don't put that I'm the head of the household.
Yeah. It's starting to censor.
And then later on, when Dennis Weaver stops to get gas or something, the mechanic looks under the hood and says, you need new hoses, new radiator hoses or something. And Dennis Weaver's like, not this time. And the guy goes, you're the boss. And Dennis Weaver goes, not in my house. There's this running theme of him, I don't even know, not underdog, but just like I said.
Well, he was kind of a wuss, I think is how you put it earlier. Like
I don't know that
he was clearly always dominated by somebody else.
Yeah, he's being dominated by women, I guess.
Yeah. or just
Was
in
that
general?
really necessary? Probably not. Just an ordinary guy being terrorized by that truck is scary enough. You didn't need to make him the underdog
Well,
or worse.
I think if he made him, if they made him out to be a tough guy, he might have confronted him
Oh no,
more.
he doesn't have to be a tough guy. Just ordinary, just a regular guy on a
I'm
business
just,
trip.
yeah, I don't know. I guess they're just
Unless
making a
he
point
was trying
why
to
he
show
was
him
always running and
conquer.
afraid. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point.
Weird.
I think it just kind of fleshes out the character a
The
little
other
bit.
thing, guys, and tell me if you had the same thought, Rizzo. There's a moment in the movie, getting on 2/3 in ish, maybe 3/4, where things are just really going wrong and it's bad. He's in it up to here with this truck, and he's like, "Well, I'm not going to make that appointment," because he's going on a business trip or something. He's like, "I'm not going to make
He
that
was supposed to
appointment."
meet his
In my
boss.
head, I'm like, "No, you're not. Stop. Turn around. Go home.
Yeah,
Just
I
go
mean,
home."
there was plenty of opportunities where he could have got away from the truck. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, you could have easily, there's plenty of pull offs. You could
Just
have pulled
go
off, you could
home.
hide, let the truck go by, and just go back the other way.
Yeah.
Until
The day is shot. The day
there was a
is
lot
shot.
of stuff he could have
And then
done.
literally right after that
But
line,
there's the other
he's going
part
in the
too.
same direction as the truck.
He's literally on the phone. Don't forget, he was literally on the phone with the police when he runs over the. Now you tell
Oh
me the
yeah,
police
that's
officer on the other end of the phone didn't hear the
yeah,
air
the
horn.
crash.
He's like, this truck driver's trying to kill me. Whack, clicking. I
Yeah.
mean, you think somebody would have
Oh,
investigated?
and then the woman, if
Of
she
course,
had one phone, but she may have gotten in her car and driven someone and called. This truck
yeah,
just messed up my snake.
right, exactly. Yeah, and they could have figured out where he was because he gave the operator the phone number.
Yeah, he knew.
So
Yeah, so they know where
tell
that
exactly
is.
where the
That's
phone
at the
is.
Snake-O-Rama, so they
Yeah,
can't be much further past that.
right. Yeah, so I mean, it's not a perfect film. I mean, there's plenty of gaps that you
It's
could
still a
say,
really excellent
well,
film.
um,
But that was like glaring at me. That whole, okay, you're not going to make your appointment. Call it a day.
yeah,
Call
I
it
think
a
that
day.
was pretty much early on. He wasn't going to make it because he even says there's no way I'm way late
Yeah, which
or
is why
something.
he
And
was kind
he
of hard. I
stops
think
an
that's why
awful
he
lot
wanted to
too.
pass the truck in the
Stops
first
for
place.
gas, stops at the. He just.
Yeah, he was like in a hurry to make the appointment, and then he starts. Yeah, the timing maybe is not. Oh, the timing. Spielberg did something really interesting and smart for this movie. Most movie directors have a storyboard. He had a map, like an
Yeah,
actual map
They
of
did it
the road.
all as an aerial type
And
thing.
yeah, like an aerial of the road, and he points. Okay, and here's where the train situation, and here's where the bus situation, and here's where the Snake-O-Rama is, and here's where he waves them on, and there's an oncoming car. Like, and yeah, he said it was brilliant, and it worked just as well as a storyboard, especially when we had to shoot out of order. I was like, that's clever.
Yeah, absolutely. So, trying to think of what else. We don't have any roads, right? In this because we didn't actually well, I mean, we kind of did. There's not much in the way of when it comes to we kind of talked about the actors.
You know what? I gotta be honest. I didn't do that
Aside
deep
from
dive
Dennis
because
Weaver,
I was like,
who was
Dennis
really
Weaver.
best known for McLeod.
Yeah.
Back in the day. And then you had the other one is Lucille Benson, who was the snake lady, who kind of, like you said, she shows up in 1941 in a whole bunch of stuff. She's one of those actresses always plays the same part.
Yeah.
Like you all recognize her,
Yeah.
So it's funny but if you look at her IMDb, she's been in a ton of stuff.
Yes, she has. I'm actually just looking at the wife's IMDb. She's been in a bunch of stuff too.
Oh, Jacqueline Scott.
Yes, I've not
small
seen her.
part, and like I said, that was an addition. That was after the fact.
It was after the fact.
Original,
yeah. This is that era, though. 1971. A lot of these actors absolutely could have been on original series. We don't know if they were or not because.
Yeah. The other thing you talk about the radiator hose thing. I always called shenanigans on that because that car was essentially brand new.
Yeah, it was. It only had like 5,000 miles.
It only had like a few thousand miles on it. Even back then, a radiator hose wouldn't have gone. Unless,
Well,
I mean, it makes sense that the car. First of all, there's that whole scene. It's a little bit of suspension of disbelief because he's going up the hill. The car has blown its radiator hose. It's overheating. The oil light's on. It clearly has no. It would not have made it up that hill. It would have seized that engine so quickly in the desert. Heat and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, I was like, yeah, that car would have been junk. It would not have been. Yeah, it would have been complete toast. But whatever, it saw its demise in the end anyway with the truck, which is kind of, again, I think kind of part of the story that the car, didn't make it either. The car was sacrificial. He sacrificed the car. To save his life and kill the guy. So, but the car was pretty much trashed. So
It was all,
it was all, well, it was all smashed up. Plus, I know that engine was junk. So
yes. The small, very small trivia about that final scene is the truck was on they put these vehicles on these things to make them go straight. And so the driver can bail lots earlier. And I don't know what happened, but that thing to pull the truck over failed. And so Carrie had to stay in the truck until the very last possible second. And then he jumped out and bailed because they only had one chance. Spielberg set up 7 cameras to capture this thing going over. Back in the days when they actually
there were more than one truck.
Yes, they had multiple trucks.
And there's only one, I think, that survived.
One that survived. Yeah.
There is one that is still around.
They only had one chance to put this thing over this hill cliff thing. And Spielberg set up 7 cameras, and he said it just worked out that the one camera, he goes, because you see it come over and you see all that dust, and then you see the body of the tank coming out kind of through the dust. Like you think it's almost over, and then the body of the tank starts coming this way. And it actually was a spectacular, like that whole thing. It was a good
crash. It was a good crash.
Spectacular.
And I like the fact that
nowadays they use miniatures and models or just CGI.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, the way they did it too, they made it believable because when he hits the car, it bursts into flames.
It does, yeah.
Fire and smoke, so he can't see. So he thinks he's just driving this thing into and then the last second he realizes when the car drops over the edge, shit.
Yes. Yes.
You see him try to hit the brake and everything.
And but there's also the horn. He also bails on the horn.
Yeah.
I'm like, blowing the horn is not going to help you.
No, that was just for.
I don't know why he pulls the horn.
That was for effect to make it like it's dying. Like
it's angry. It's an angry truck.
That was the truck screaming as it went over the hill.
That was the truck screaming.
That was the Wilhelm scream for the truck.
That was the truck's Wilhelm scream.
That was, whoa! So that was it. And, yeah.
What an inglorious ending for that poor truck.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think it was a good ending for the truck. I like the kind of. I love the fact that it just lays there.
I'm okay that it didn't blow up.
The blood. I'm okay that it didn't. I would have been okay if it did blow up, but I love he's dead or at least dying when you see the blood dripping off the steering wheel, and you're like he's dead.
And then you know what I also thought about is, you remember in 5/25/77, young Patrick Reed makes another Duel.
That was it. Well, there was a thing.
Thinking about it, like, okay, so what was your premise?
And we saw lots of references to Duel in that movie.
We did, yeah. So I'm like, yes, you're right. We did. The truck sitting in the.
Yeah, it was in the
basically.
No, that was the truck.
And Spielberg the Spielberg character sitting
in the truck. Yeah.
So now I've got to know, Patrick Reed Johnson, what was your premise? Like, what was?
Because it was a Spielberg. Because again, it was all that. I think because it was all things that he grew up watching, and that it impacted his drive to make movies. That film was a really good film.
It was.
Like I said, we would not have been we won't be talking about it today.
No.
Hadn't made it 50-something years ago.
52 years ago. I can definitely see that having impact on young, 15, 16, 17-year-old boys back then, especially ones who were just starting to drive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Kent thinks that your Wilhelm scream was pathetic.
Well, Kent, you're pathetic, so that's okay.
All right, let's all of us.
You don't want to tilt with me, Kent.
Let me look at my notes. Any other little things if
that's my biggest weakness, then I'm okay with it. I can't do a Wilhelm scream properly. Next time, Kent, you come on the show. We'll have you do yours and see if it's better.
Yeah, I'm gonna start practicing now. We're gonna have a Wilhelm scream off.
Wilhelm scream contest. There you go. There's the next Trek on Roga. Have that as an event.
Some people have actually declared
bringing up my hair like somehow he has a ton of it himself.
Moving on. Some people have declared
He started it this time.
He started it. The best TV movie of all time. I don't know, man. What do you guys think?
It's probably one of the better ones. I can't think of a better one off the top of my head. I'm not saying there aren't other good ones, but they certainly haven't had the longevity that this one has had.
I'm trying to think. Like, I can think of miniseries, but not movies. The movies are so forgettable for the most part. You know what? This might actually be the best American TV movie. made for a TV movie.
Yeah, I mean,
Can you
somebody
guys
could argue
even
that.
think
I'm
of
trying
another
to think of
TV
some
movie?
made for TV.
Maybe those ones that like Roy reviews, those kind of scary ones.
There's probably been some good ones. Whether they're better than this, I don't know.
Those weren't that good. This was good. Like this actually had like structure and
Well, it still works because
tension
you're
and
sitting there
this was
watching.
a psychological thriller.
Yeah, because it still works. You're still kind of, even though I've seen this how many times, I know how it ends.
Yeah, but you're still like
you see the truck come around the corner, and he's like, you could just see
yeah,
this guy's crazy.
Yeah,
So I totally think it still holds up, even though it's dated in the sense of the type of cars and of course the whole.
It's dated as far as the Plymouth, but you know what? Honest to God, if I saw that truck, that 1955 Peterbilt, come up behind me, even to this day, I'd move the heck over.
Yeah, I mean, he picked that truck specifically. He had several trucks that he was trying to choose from. He picked that truck because it kind of looks like a face.
Yeah.
So he picked that.
Supposedly under the license plates, there were supposedly two not ties, not the wood part, the metal rail. Thank you. There's supposedly two rails. I never noticed. I guess I could pull up a picture of the truck right now and look. I didn't really specifically notice.
Well, that's the thing is you could see like the scenes like when he's trying to push the bus, and it's like you could never do that with a car today. It would just crush.
Oh my God! Yeah, he's like,
the cars were like say they were built like tanks because they didn't have all the safety. Because cars today are designed
steel boats back then. You were surrounded by steel. Your crumple zone was the size of your living room.
That wasn't really safe because that just transferred all the energy to you instead of the car. So now the cars crumple on purpose to absorb the energy of the impact so that you don't absorb the energy. So that's why you don't have those kind of bumpers.
I'm a Night Stalker. That's right, Chris. I'm grateful for that. But yeah, to this day, if a Peterbilt comes up in my rear view, now I know.
Remember, even if you have the right of way, they have the right of wait.
They have the right of they take way longer to stop.
Because you could argue that you have the right, but you'll still be dead.
There's no stopping short. If you're in front of a truck, for the love of God, don't stop.
And don't do that to even because they have a lot more to like talking for somebody who tows heavy trailers. Yeah, you don't stop on a dime. No, you don't stop on a dime. So
now I got a 55 Peterbilt in my head, and I still remember 1948 Peterbilt Screamed Alive, and it's a song lyric, 1948 Peterbilt Screamed Alive. Bonus points if you know what song I'm talking about.
I have no idea what song you're talking about.
It's a great song. It's a very 70s. It's a very, very 70s song.
Okay. What is it? I give up.
Oh, you guys watched it. I was waiting to see if anybody in the audience
knows. Oh, all right. I'm sorry.
Hang on. Think of the 1948 Peterbilt Screamed Alive. Yeah, we woke up the chicken.
Well, while they're doing that, what is
Chris, the Roche? No, it's not Convoy, Chris. It's the other one. You're on the right. Keep going, Chris. You're on the right track, but it's not Convoy. Keep going.
Bound and Down?
Nope. Nope.
I don't know.
Chris, I know. I absolutely know that Chris will figure it out.
Okay.
Let me give some more lyrics.
Yeah, I don't know. The only one, Convoy is the only one I would have thought it would have been.
All right, Chris LaRoche, you ready? We were sitting there sucking toothpicks, drinking knee-highs onion soup mix, and I says, Earl, let's mail a card to Mother and send them chickens on down the other side. Yeah, let's give them a ride. Go, Chris. You know it. You know the song.
Not the green teeth one, is it?
Nope, it's not Convoy, you guys.
No, the green teeth, when I kicked old green teeth right in the mouth.
Nope, not that one. Well, Earl put down his bottle, mashed his foot down on the throttle, and then a couple of boobs and 1,000 cubes in 1948 Peterbilt screamed alive. Yeah, we woke up the chickens.
Oh, no.
You guys, you got this. You got this. This is one of those 1970 songs that was on the damn radio.
Not Hot Rod Lincoln.
Nope.
Well, what was it?
We roared up off of that shoulder spring, pine cones, rocks, and boulders, and put 400 head of them Rhode Island Reds and a couple of burned out roosters on the line. Look out below, because here we go. Come on, you guys, you know this. I know you know this. I'll tell you in a minute.
I give up. I'm going to be like, I never heard that song.
Yeah, you are.
While they're singing, what is Phil and Roy got going?
I don't know. Phil, I shot him a message this morning. Phil, you didn't answer me. And Roy is going to talk to Mike and Denise Okuda. I don't know what
about
Phil's going to do. And about Picard, probably.
Okay. So next week, I think, since this was Spielberg's first film, we decided we were going to try something, and we're going to do George Lucas's first film, which was THX 1138, which is really the first film, and we're doing the Robert Duvall version.
Yes,
not his college version of it. So, although it really wasn't his first film, it's certainly one of his early films. So,
oh, Chris, I know you can figure out this song. I know you can. Well, we commenced the trucking, them hens commenced to clucking, and Earl took out a match, scratched his pants, and lit up this unused half of $1 cigar and took a puff. He said, "My, ain't it pretty up here?" I says, "Earl, this hill can spill us. You better slow down. You gonna kill us. Just make one mistake, and it's the pearly gates and them 85 crates of USDA-approved cluckers. You want to hit second?" And then the refrain, which is the name of the song.
Okay, I'm done with this line of conversation. Just tell us what it is, so you can stop singing it.
Oh, it gets better. They go down.
Time to wrap it up, and we're just nobody's getting it. So, what is the song?
Wolf Creek Pass.
Never heard of it.
You guys, this is by.
I've never heard of Wolf Creek Pass in my life. I knew this was going to be
C.W. McCall.
Nope, sorry, drawing a blank. Maybe if I heard it, I'd recognize it. So, okay, so moving on. There you go. Hope y'all happy with that, whatever it was. Next time you'll have to sing it better.
There is no singing. It's almost. There's no singing. It's almost spoken word.
Bill's like never heard of it either, so it's okay. It wasn't so popular as we thought it was.
Chris LaRoche was I know Chris would have figured it out.
So, okay, guys. On that note, we're going to say good night. We'll see you next week. Let us know. We never really got any feedback whether you guys like the Star Trek New World.
Did you all mute it? You all muted it, right? Because none of you wanted to spoil it.
I haven't seen. I know. I can't believe maybe I think most of them must have watched it by now. But
well, we're gonna.
We give you almost a week to watch it. So, yeah. So anyway, you could always just add to the chat. We still see stuff after the fact. So. On that note, and on the singing debut of Mary Beth,
I'm going to keep going.
We're just going to keep going. We will say good night. Live long and prosper. We'll see you. Stay safe. Bye. Good night, guys.
Well, Earl grabbed the shifter and he stabbed her into fifth gear, and then the